The thought of an 8.8 earthquake hitting a downtown area like this is scary, although maybe not as scary as it used to be.
The ground actually shifted by a foot.
Walter Mooney of the U.S. Geological Survey is just back from the earthquake zone in Chile. He found that even in this monster quake, there are some positive lessons for the Bay Area.
The good news is that reinforced concrete buildings that have proper rebar in them and have been well designed by the engineers performed quite well.
In a talk with colleagues in Menlo Park, Mooney said there's a certain kind of Darwinism at play among the buildings when the ground shakes. The older and weaker ones don't survive.
These adobe and masonry buildings did not perform very well. Most of these buildings suffered some damage, and many of them had numerous collapsed walls.
Mooney says the time is now to reinforce many of the older buildings that stand side by side with newer structures. These low-rise campus buildings are one example of how that's done. This USGS office building was constructed in the 1950s. Ironically enough, it was not built to withstand a very strong earthquake. So, in 1979, it was retrofitted with these big, heavy, and thick steel beams.
The reason we retrofit these buildings is, number one, to save lives. We don't worry about cosmetic cracking, but we want the building to stay up for people to get out safely. And of course, the USGS needs to be up and running to continue our research during an earthquake.
But Mooney says even greater destruction came from the tsunami, which came in 3 waves, wiping out entire communities of hundreds of people.
Tsunamis may be infrequent in the United States, but we really need to be prepared for them in terms of building buildings that are resistant, having warning systems that allow people to evacuate rapidly, and having sensible land use policies that gets people out of harm's way.
Mooney will be presenting to local, state, and federal agencies. He says we know what to do, it's just a matter of doing, and in these economic times, paying for it. In Menlo Park, Len Ramirez, CBS 5.